Welcome to Twin Talk Politics. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Twin Talk Politics. And today we are joined by the wonderful MP Amandeep Sodhi, Member of Parliament for Brampton Centre, and the youngest MP in the House of Commons. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day to join us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me, and I'm so excited for the discussion we're about to have.
Cool. And I guess as you probably know, we have a pretty cemented tradition on our podcast where the first question is always a 50-50 guessing challenge of who do you think is Jason and who do you think is Jerry? Just based on our different colored backgrounds. And actually more than half of our guests get it wrong, so please don't feel the pressure.
Okay, so the names are Jason and Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, I feel like you're the yellow.
Yeah, that's right. Nice.
Really?
Yeah, congratulations. As Jerry
Okay,
said, not a lot of
perfect.
people get that right. So congratulations on that.
Okay.
I'm Jason, I'm the one in the yellow background, and that's Jerry, the one in the blue.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Now that you know how to tell us apart, let's dive straight in the episode. Just to get started, we are wondering if you could please just introduce yourself and share how your journey into politics began.
Yeah, well, so nice to be here with you guys again. My name is Amandeep Sodhi. I'm the Member of Parliament for Brampton Centre. I first put my name in to be nominated at 22 years old, and I was 23 when I got elected.
Wow.
I'm a little bit older. I'm 24 now, but my journey with politics basically started when I was younger than what I am now. My dad is a lifelong liberal, and I always went to events with him starting the age around 11 or 12.
Wow.
So I would go to conventions with him. I would volunteer on different campaigns, and that's kind of where I got involved in politics. I then pursued a degree at Western in political science, and I was part of a lot of clubs. I did a lot of sessions on youth and politics, but as a student listening to other politicians.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my passion for politics cultivated. So that's how my journey began.
All right, great. We'll definitely be talking a little bit more about your campaign and how that experience was like a little bit further down the line. But for our second question, this actually comes in two parts. So first, we were wondering, what do you think are the most pressing problems concerning youth in Canada as a whole? And secondly, what do you think are the most paramount issues for youth in your own constituency?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. For youth as a whole in all of Canada, I think that the issues they face are around job stability,
Yeah,
and affordability. I think that's worldwide, no matter if you're youth, senior, middle-aged. I think we're facing a lot of uncertainty in that factor. Personally, in my writing, the biggest challenge that I see youth facing from what I've had discussions with them is mental health because of affordability.
okay, cool.
So some of them are still living at home, some of them are commuting back and forth from university, college, school, but I think their biggest thing is they can't get a job,
Mhm.
or the job that they currently do have isn't making them enough money to be able to sustain themselves, which is causing a lot of mental duress. Um, so nationally, it would be affordability and jobs. In my writing, it's more so affordability and mental health.
For sure. As you mentioned, affordability is definitely top of mind for probably almost all Canadians right now, especially younger Canadians. And the government has been taking action. In Canada's recent budget, it has placed a very strong emphasis on easing the cost of living pressure by expanding access to paid employment opportunities for young people. Whether that's 635 million over 3 years for the student work placement program, as well as expanding funding for the Canada Summer Jobs to support up to 100,000 positions this summer. So obviously, this is
Exactly.
fantastic news. But we're just wondering, from your perspective, are there any additional support mechanisms the federal government should provide to really help ensure that these short-term or seasonal jobs do end up translating into long-term financial security, especially for young people?
Yeah. Honestly, over the last couple of weeks, I kind of just been talking amongst myself and my team about how something like this could ever come to life. But we have a guaranteed income supplement for seniors to help them live and get through their day-to-day necessities and be able to purchase them. During these tough times, I believe that maybe if we were able to provide some sort of a guaranteed income supplement to youth within a certain age bracket as well would also make such a big difference because we see our youth, we're motivated to work, we want employment opportunities, but sometimes we can't find them. And even if we do, it might not be enough to cover the cost that we
Right.
carry on our shoulders. So maybe if, one day we can have some sort of a GIS supplement for young Canadians, I think it would really help alleviate some of the pressures of affordability that young Canadians see within the system.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think that's an approach worth exploring. Now we kind of want to jump in a time machine and take you all the way back to last year when you won the federal election. It was your first time ever running federally, and as we know by now, you won. So huge congratulations there.
Thank you.
We're sure that was such a whirlwind of different emotions. So we just want to ask you how the experience was like for you, and what were some of the most memorable moments?
Yeah, so honestly, thinking back at the campaign, everything was so memorable. Everything was. Um, the experiences were great. One of the best things that I liked about the campaign was being able to be in the community and make connections with people that you wouldn't have thought would ever be in your life.
Yeah.
Um, and to be able to even serve your community through the election. Like some people just wanted someone to talk to. And if I was at someone's door and we had a 5-minute conversation, that's all they wanted. They just wanted that interaction. And I think, especially after COVID, we all kind of lost that sense of community.
Right,
So
yeah.
just feeling that sense of community again was a great experience for me. And some of the most memorable parts of the campaign go all the way from making connections to having my campaign launch, friends, family, volunteers outside, um, to having my high school volunteers go door knocking, riding
Wow.
around city scooters.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, so they would send me clips and videos of them riding the scooters around the neighborhoods and door knocking at the same time, and just to see kids stepping out of the house and socializing and interacting and helping within a campaign was so very memorable for me.
That's so cool to hear that you had high schoolers go campaigning, get that hands-on experience on scooters.
Yeah.
That was a really inspiring story. For the next part of our interview, we wanted to sort of shift to another obligation that you have in Parliament, which is that you currently sit on the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration, CIMM for short, which plays a pretty central role in examining Canada's immigration system. So our question focuses on the international student program and study permits, which is another key area of CIMM's work, especially for youth and students in Canada. So for a very long time, Canadian universities have long relied on international student tuition for funding. Yet the IRCC and government is now significantly rolling back its international student programs, curbing student permits to, I believe, around like 408,000, which is a pretty significant 16% drop from 2024. And we know that you're a huge proponent for education and were recently there to announce projects such as the government's $25 million investment to support TMU's new School of Medicine. But I think in general, Ontario universities are expected to face pretty significant losses of more than $2 billion in the upcoming years, with universities already having to do things such as suspending essential programs and extracurriculars. So our question here is, what do you think are the most important steps moving forward to protect post-secondary education in Canada while also keeping it affordable?
Yeah. So I want to start off by saying that the federal government still has their Canada Student Grant Program, which gives students up to $3,800 a year in grants that are in post-secondary institutions. Um, Second of all, I understand and I hear the concerns of colleges and universities in terms of how they're going to keep their door open because immigration has reduced significantly. They're not getting as much enrollment and as much tuition money as they would have in the previous years. Um, I think that in this time, it's important to assess the needs. I understand that most colleges run off of tuition money, but there was a strain that was being placed on the system, which was much bigger than that, and we needed to address that issue. I also, it's talked about in our immigration committee quite a bit, but we need to continuously place the pressure on provinces to properly fund colleges and universities as it's their responsibility to do so. And I do wholeheartedly believe that they had kind of slacked off with doing that because immigration was at an all-time high and they knew that they were going to get the money from one source or another. So they didn't provide adequate enough funding. And I actually heard that myself. I won't name the name, just in case, this person is not comfortable. I haven't asked beforehand, but I met recently with a president of a university who mentioned the point that I'm mentioning right now. And I think it's important to hold any level of government accountable, especially when it's their responsibility to provide for something that they're responsible for. And one way that we can continue to keep post-secondary education affordable is not raise tuition. Colleges, universities, provinces have the ability to do that, and there should be a cap on how much tuition they can raise or what tuition can be. Um, my goodness, even for international students that are paying almost like $30,000 per
Right.
semester, where a domestic student is paying $8,000. So those are the type of things that need to be looked at. And obviously I take interest in this subject, so I'm willing to have conversations with any and all levels of government to ensure that, students are still able to have the affordable education that they deserve here in Canada.
Great. Thank you for all your work on that committee. Now we want to jump ship a little bit and steer our conversation back towards youth. As you know, our podcast is made by and for the youth. And one of the things we always try to do and strive to do, but rarely get the opportunity to, is spotlight young leaders within government. I think it's pretty safe to say you're the embodiment of youth empowerment in action, being one of only 4 MPs born in the 21st century in Parliament right now, with you being the youngest. And I think it goes without saying how inspiring this is for so many young Canadians like ourselves who previously felt that their age disqualified them from entering public office. So we'd love to hear whether your age has presented any unique advantages or unique disadvantages and how you navigated them.
Yeah, so my age definitely presented advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that it encourages younger Canadians to step up in politics because they see that a 23-year-old was able to get elected into Canadian politics. So
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
way, it helps get youth involved. One of the disadvantages that I had was actually during the election. Um, it was hard to get my voters to put their trust in me
Right.
because I was 23 years old and didn't have a lot of experience. But one way that I navigated through that was I told them, look, I may not have a lot of life experience. I may not know everything. Um, but I am willing to learn. And I'm willing to learn alongside you. And I'm willing to learn if you take the time to teach me. And one thing that you and I both have in common is we have a drive and a passion to serve the communities that we live in. And I'm willing to make that change with you. And I think just that honesty went a long way with people.
For sure, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I navigated through that disadvantage, the biggest disadvantage.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. And continuing on the subject of youth, we know in recent years there has unfortunately been a pretty significant decline in youth engagement, evidenced by low youth voter turnout rates just across the country. So, in your opinion, in what ways can the youth do to become more engaged within the political sphere?
Yeah, great question. I think that one of the biggest things that youth can do to get involved in politics, it starts right at home. I would recommend to go volunteer at your local constituency office. And I think that you should do it regardless of political affiliation
Right, yeah.
because our constituency offices deal with the same people and deal with the same issues, regardless if we're a liberal or conservative office. And our constituency offices are actually meant to be nonpartisan to
Right.
begin with.
Yeah.
So it's really important for youth to get started through a constit office or to get involved in youth councils, whether that's through student councils or colleges, universities, or through their local constituency youth council. But I think it's important for them to get involved starting closer at home. Larger scale, I would try to get involved with like model UN or
Mhm.
model parliament.
Yeah.
Those are great ways. I would try to volunteer at local organizations. Um, Even if they're not completely political, because you still get your foot in through the door to understand a lot of the issues that the system or the community is facing around that organization, which might kind of drive your passion to politics, whether that's municipally, provincially, or federally. So there's lots and lots of ways to get involved, but yeah, I would say definitely start there.
Yeah, for sure. And just in regards to that, what are your thoughts surrounding extending the voting age to 16 in Canada? And would you think that may boost turnout and really help push young voices towards the forefront of political discussion?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that our youth these days, we are smart, we are motivated, we are driven, and a lot of us are a lot more mature than our age. Age is just a number, and I think
Right.
if at 16 you're allowed to go get your driver's license, then you should be allowed to vote. So I am definitely in favor for lowering the voting age. Personally, myself, since I was quite involved in politics, I had a understanding of how the system works. And when I was 16, I definitely wished that I could vote, but instead I had to wait 2 years.
Right.
And by that time, you never know if there's going to be a government change or
Right.
a policy change. And then it just makes you feel like you couldn't contribute in the way that you wanted to.
For sure. Thank you so much for that. It's really inspiring and refreshing to see support on a federal level. So thank you again for that. Um, our second to last question before our fun question is if you could offer one piece of advice to all young Canadians out there right now, what would your message be?
Yeah, my advice to you would be whatever it is that you want to do, just do it. It's so simple, it's so easy, just do it. It's going to be, it might be hard, it might be scary, it might be challenging, there might be certain roadblocks, but life is too short to not do what you want to do, and
Right.
you always miss 100% of the shots in life
Right.
that you don't take. So
Mm,
follow your dreams. Um, I always like to say that it's important to follow your heart and lead with example in
wow, yeah.
whatever it is that you do. So, whatever young Canadians want to do, whatever your heart desires, just go out and do it. And if you need help, I am one of those that will always be here to mentor, to help, or to guide in whatever way that I can.
Cool. Thank you for all your very nuanced and insightful answers in our conversation today. And now for the last, but probably the hardest question of the day. We know Brampton Centre is home to many things, extraordinary diversity, wonderful cuisine. Obviously, it's for a cultural industry. It's called the Flower City for a reason. But if someone were visiting your constituency for the very first time, what are some must-visit places?
Yeah, great question. Any chance to talk about my writing, I absolutely love. If you're coming in the winter, I would say to go to Gage Park, go skating. They turned the park into a skating rink
Wow.
every single winter, which is so, so cool. They put up lights, they serve hot chocolate. So definitely a great visit if you're coming in the winter. If you're coming just all year around. My all-time favorite place to go is Sunny's Diner. It
Wow. Okay.
actually looks like a restaurant straight out of the 1800s. And I think it's the longest standing restaurant slash diner that Brampton actually has.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So I'm very, very proud to represent a riding that has such a monumental piece to it. And I am a very, very big food person. I love trying out different things. So I would go to Joe's Pizza because
Okay.
their pizza slices are like this big and
Oh,
super
wow.
cheesy. And it's once again a legendary staple. So I would say those three things for sure.
Cool. For all the listeners at home, please and definitely go check out all the places mentioned by MP Sodhi. For us personally, we'll definitely go check them out. All right, I think that concludes our interview today. Again, Jared and I would like to extend such a big thank you to MP Sodhi and for her phenomenal team for this amazing opportunity and taking the time out of her extremely busy schedule to come here and chat with us today. We truly, truly appreciate it. For all the listeners at home, if you guys wish to see more interviews like this, be sure to tune into future episodes. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you guys next time.